I think people get tattooed because, there's not a lot of real stuff left in the world, and it's all like a 24-hour news cycle. Nothing lasts. With tattooing, it's blood, it's pain, it's permanence. When you get that needle in your skin for the first time, you have to be there. You can't just call it in. You have to sit there and take the pain, and then sit there and heal it. And then you got to live with the consequences of your action.
Hey guys, welcome to the show today. So today's little topic, we are going to talk about guest artists. Being a guest artist, getting tattooed by a guest artist, what it all means, how it all works. And it's a topic that I'm well acquainted with because I was a guest artist traveling around tattooing for many years of my career in shops all over the world. So I understand what it means to be a good guest. I mean, through trial and error, getting feedback while I was doing it. And now as a shop owner, I have a lot of guest artists come through here. Probably right now half my staff are guest artists. So I know what to expect and what I am looking for in terms of having guest artists work in my studio. And also I think as a client, you're getting tattooed by somebody who's not from your town, who really, once they do the tattoo and they leave, how do you get a touch-up? What if you want to get more work in the same style? There's considerations to be had for this, right? So we'll start with what a guest artist is. In tattoo culture, in tattoo, for lack of a better word, industry, there's a subsect of tattooers that leave their home shops and they travel around and they do guest visiting at other studios. So like when I was tattooing, I'd go and work maybe a couple of weeks at a shop in Holland. I'd sort of get to understand the shop, meet the people, tattoo some people, and it's a facility for learning, right? So this whole guest artist sort of culture of traveling around is a really good way to learn lots of different styles of tattooing, lots of different ways of dealing with customers, how different cities are, exposing yourself to different styles of art, different techniques, and it's a really good learning experience. And most well-known and well-established artists have done a stint at guest starting to some extent or another. I did about 7-8 years of guest artisting, usually longer stints, so I'd do like a few months here, a few months there, a few months there, go back to home base, and then do those circuits all over again. And I credit that a lot with my success in terms of understanding so many different things, like I said, like understanding different techniques and how to deal with people and all these kind of things, right? And how to work in a group, like a new group. If you're like the outsider as a guest, you come into a shop that has, say, 10 established tattooers already or 5 established tattooers. You have to learn how to integrate yourself into that culture and that social circle and not be a pain in the ass, not stand out, not cause trouble, right? Because, tattoo shops are, they can be cantankerous places sometimes. A lot of egos, a lot of big personalities, there's money involved, people are jealous, right? So being able to swim in those waters without causing trouble is an art unto itself. So what I expect, when I was a guest artist, I would just try to go in. Usually for me, like doing 2-3 weeks was pretty good. You get to hang out. You're not really getting too involved in the politics or the bullshit in a few weeks. I just try to go in and for me, when I was a guest artist, I was there to work, right? A lot of guest artists I find now, they're on holidays, they just want to do some tattooing, and they're not really taking the tattoo side of it super duper serious. They have a job back home and they just want to come and do a bit of tattooing in a different city or a different country. And so it's like a holiday work for them, right? I'm not a huge fan of that. When I was a guest artist, I went to work. I'd be there early, I'd work all day, I'd stay late. If the boss asked me to do something extra, I would do it because I was there to learn. I was there to make a name for myself as well, right? Especially because I like to work with people who I admired and people I wanted to learn from. So for me, I was there to be an achiever. And so these kind of things, like going the extra mile and following the rules and these kind of things were really important to me, and the things I strived to do. And I tried to learn, I tried to get what I could out of these experiences, right? And I encourage people, if you're a young tattooer, that you do it that way. You look at it as a serious, it's like going to university. You get out of this situation and the experience what you put into it. So if you go and do a guest spot and your whole thing is, well, what can I get out of this, right? What are you going to teach me? What are you going to give me? You're lucky I'm here. If you have this attitude, you ain't going to get shit. No one's going to like you. The counter staff aren't going to give you work. Customers aren't going to recommend you to their friends, right? You really have to go in there humble and, what can I give to this situation, right? How can I best, represent myself and what I do, right? And make people want to help you, right? That whole thing, right? The Lord helps those who help themselves, right? I very much look at that in terms of tattooing. That the more you give and the more you put into it, the more you'll get back at it, just out of natural law, right? So that's how I looked at it when I was going, and it works for me most of the time. A few times you get involved in the politics of it, or maybe you start dating the wrong girl who's an ex of somebody else's, and it causes problems. I try to avoid all that stuff. You never sleep with people that you work with, right? That's like the golden rule of tattoo shops. Do not shit where you eat, right? Never sleep with your coworkers. And in guest spotting, going out and partying is another consideration. Socializing with the staff and your fellow tattooers and stuff, and that can be all well and good. But I think you should stay there to work. Now, as a shop owner, when I have a guest artist come here that I don't know, just an unknown emails me, hey, I want to come work in your shop for a few weeks or 6 months or whatever. I have expectations, right? I mean, some guest artists think that because they're a guest artist, they don't, the rules don't apply to them. They think, well, I'm just here to do this. I don't want to do walk-ins, or I don't want to do extra this, or I don't want to do extra that. Yeah, it's fine, man. You want to be like that, it's cool, but I won't invite you back. You can come and do your work or whatever, but that's not what I'm looking for, right? I have a team here, and people are all on the same page, and we all push and work hard. Shop has a big reputation that we all have to, live up to, right? We've earned this reputation. We also have to live up to the reputation. And so I look for that. I look for people that are going the extra mile, that want to be helpful, that want to be here. I mean, people that are like, I want to go home early, or I'm late. I hate that shit, man. It's a fucking 8-hour day, dude. Just be here for 8 hours and be happy, all right? Now, as a customer, as a client, why should you get tattooed by a guest artist, and what are the potential downsides of getting tattooed by a guest artist? Well, with a guest artist, like say here, you're going to have access to tattooers that are not local to the area. So you're going to see different art, different styles of tattooing, somebody from a different country perhaps, right? So you have access to stuff that you wouldn't normally have. So that's exciting, right? Because each city or country or region, gets their own sort of flavor of tattooing, right? It becomes a little bit homogenous, right? So when you get someone from the outside world to come in here, it's a whole different thing. It can be a completely alien style, which is nice. It's fresh. It stands out on the street. Your friends don't have tattoos that look like this, right? So that can be cool. As long as you have a guest artist with a good work ethic, right? Like in my studio, if you get tattooed by a guest artist and say it needs a touch-up, and that guest artist is gone, we'll honor the touch-up, and one of the other guys will fix it up for you for free, right? We do that all the way around the block for everybody. So that's not a worry. In the past, there's been a lot of guests that are, slash and burn kind of guests, right? They just go through a city, do a bunch of shitty fucking tattoos that look good for a minute, charge top dollar, and they bounce, right? And then there's no repercussions. It's like getting tattooed at a tattoo convention, right? And a lot of these guys that used to come to Australia do a bunch of overpriced tattoos at the conventions, smash them out as fast as they can, $500 for an hour of tattooing this big. Looks good for a minute. As soon as you take the bandage off, you can see it's a piece of shit. You can see it's not colored properly. The lines are shaky, or the lines aren't solid. You have zero recourse, right? That guy ain't coming back. You're not getting a touch-up. You're not getting a refund. You can't even leave him a bad review, right? So in that sense, guest artists at a tattoo shop is a better bet, right? Because at least at the shop you've got recourse. Here we stand behind everything. If something does need a touch-up or something isn't right, we fix it, right? So I guess it's also to go with the reputation of the shop. If you've got a fly-by-night shop or a new shop or a young shop, look at their reviews, see what their reputation is, word on the street. You know, at us, we've been here for a long time, good reputation. So getting tattooed by a guest artist with us isn't risky at all, right? We've got good artists. We vet everybody here. Everyone here has got a good work ethic. And you get really interesting stuff. We've got guys from Slovakia, from Korea, from Italy, from Japan, from Thailand. You know, we've got a guy coming from Spain. We've got a girl from England. You know, we've got people from all over the world here. We really are a diverse, multicultural shop, which is interesting because it brings a lot of different flavors and styles of tattooing. And then people are influenced by the people they work with. We're all stealing little tricks off each other and sharing knowledge. So not only does it create a really neat workspace, you hear all sorts of different languages here and lots of different jokes in different languages, but you also get a real good conglomeration of art and styles, right? And personalities, you know? So guest arting is a really unique thing to tattooing. I don't know that there's a lot of other industries or crafts that have the same travel culture as tattooing. Like I said, I did it for 8 years, off and on, mostly traveling. So I've been started in Spain, tattooed in Italy, and England, and Denmark, and Norway, Thailand, Cambodia, Australia. Did a little bit in Japan, America. I'm from Canada. I tattooed a little bit in Mexico. You know, so just all these different places to be able to make tattoos, meet different people, tattoo the locals, and you know, do what I love and be able to travel, right? It's a little different now because back when I was doing that like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there wasn't a tattoo shop on every corner like there is now. I mean, you go to Thailand now, you can't trip over and not land in a tattoo shop. 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. There was a couple, but it wasn't, you know, there was no tattoo shops on every beach and on every corner, right? So it was easier to go there and put out a shingle and sit at the picnic table at the restaurant, do a bit of drawing, and find some customers and stuff, right? Very different now, right? So partially, I mean, in the sense now, there's more tattoo shops in the Western world to visit and travel, but in the third world or the holiday regions, it's a lot more difficult to just go and tattoo on the beach than it used to be. So if you have aspirations to be a guest artist, definitely have your game straight, right? Be punctual, be clean and presented, be well behaved, learn to be social, you know, learn to do what's expected of you and to know what's expected of you. If you want to come work in a shop and be invited back and you don't want to cause trouble and you don't want to get fired, you know, or shunned by the counter or not be given work, understand all these things, what's expected of you, right? How to be a good worker. You know, and if you want to travel and stuff, then, you know, I usually always tried, when I was traveling, I would say, plan stuff 6 months in advance. So figure out the route you want to go and the shops you want to go or the cities you want to go and start emailing those shops 6 months in advance or even farther out. And keep in touch, right? Like, hey, I want to come here for this long, and keep that relationship going and then check in with them, make sure it's all good, right? So they'll put you in the book, make sure that you've got a chair when you get there, all that kind of thing. Emailing someone 2 weeks before, hey, I want to come work, like, good chance there's not going to be a spot for you. So always try to plan that stuff out months in advance. It's always good to have a clean portfolio or a clean Instagram to be able to show your prospective employer. And then, you know, there's visa considerations, all that kind of stuff. I'll let you figure that out for yourself, how you want to travel, what visa you're on. And, you know, some places have tattoo license requirements, which is also a consideration as to how you're gonna do it. You know, so these are all things to consider when being a guest artist. And if you have considerations about getting tattooed by a guest artist or you have questions, just email the shop and we'll answer them the best we can to alleviate any concerns you might have. So I think that's pretty much covers the topic for today. Any questions or any comments, drop them down in the comments or send me a DM. If you want to come work at my shop, send me an email, and if your work is good and we have space when you want to come, you'd be welcome to come. We bring a lot of guest artists through here. But again, there has to be a level of professionalism and a quality of work, right? These are the important things. Professionalism goes hand in hand with quality of work. Doesn't matter how well behaved you are if your work is kind of shit, right? Or if your work is fantastic and you're a dickhead, also nobody wants you, right? These are all things. Being a tattooer is so much more than I can fucking draw, right? A lot of people could draw. Some people can tattoo. Making a line with a tattoo machine is not difficult, right? You can teach a freaking monkey how to do it, right? Being able to draw decent, make a decent line, color stuff in, the technical aspect of tattooing is one part of it, right? Then there's being prepared, showing up on time, being organized, right? Being social, being polite, being hygienic, right? There's all these other factors. Replying to emails, doing your social media PR, right? Lots of different things to consider. So people that really have their game straight in terms of all those things I just listed, they have a lot more pulling power in the guest artist world. You know, if someone comes to me for a job and I look in their social media, it's on point, they've got good reviews, lots of followers, their tattooing is fucking sweet, they reply to emails quickly and courteously, they use punctuation. You know, all these things are factors and considerations for who I hire, right? So think of all that stuff if you're trying to be a prospective guest artist in the future and travel the world. All right, guys, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.